Good morning and happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Today we are going to be going over the May 18th portion of the distance learning packet where you're going to be going over some reading. You are going to read for 15 minutes, either using a book of your own or a foldable from the back, or as always, if you have one of those really good online resources for books, you can also use that. We are going to be revisiting the story Goat and Bear in Business, where we're going to be talking about how the pictures reflect the text and retelling the story based on the sequence of events with the beginning, middle, and end of the story. We're going to have a little bit of writing. Your writing prompt is going to be, after describing the story's beginning, middle, and end, you're going to write the most important events that from the story that happened in the beginning, middle, and end. And then we are going to end it with some math, where we have a math task and then a little bit of procedural practice. So let's go ahead and get started. You're going to go ahead and you're going to revisit that story, maybe rereading it. It's a very short story, so rereading it if you need to. And then you are going to talk about how the pictures reflect the text. Just when you talk to either a parent or a sibling about how those pictures reflect the text, you're just talking about how it's bringing the story to life. It's providing a visual to what the words are saying. So it kind of helps you paint that picture in your head of what is going on. That is how it is. The pictures are reflecting the text. And then you're going to talk with either a parent or a sibling about the sequence of events, what happened in the beginning of the story, what happened in the middle of the story, and what happened in the end of the story. And making sure that the sequence stays in order. So the story's still going to make sense. You're just talking about the most important thing that happened at the beginning, the most important thing that happened in the middle, and then the most important thing that happened at the end. And that is going to tie into our writing prompt. So after you describe the beginning, middle, and end of the story, you're going to write the most important events from the beginning, middle, and end of that story. So again, keeping them in order. You can use these little boxes to help keep you organized. In the beginning, pick what you think was the most important thing that happened in that beginning of the story. And then you're going to move on to the middle. What's the most important thing that happened in the middle of the story? And then you're going to, at the end, you're going to focus on what was the most important thing that happened at the end of the story. And usually when it's a narrative story, the beginning might be a problem that that occurred. The middle might be how they came up with a solution, and then the end is going to talk about how the solution helped the characters out. Okay, so go ahead. Like I said, you can draw these boxes to keep it organized, or you can write your answer on the lined paper that is provided. All right, let's go ahead and move on to math, where we are going to begin with a math task. It looks like we have a word problem. Ella has 199 marbles. Caitlin has 137 marbles. How many marbles do the girls have in all? Notice that I underlined the words in all. That's going to let us know we are going to be adding these together because they are looking for a total of both how many marbles the girls have together. All right, so let's go ahead and get started remembering the steps from last week, where we're going to line the numbers up based on place value. We're going to add the ones. If we need to regroup, we'll regroup. Then we're going to move on to step 2, where we add the tens column. Again, if we need to regroup 10 or more, we'll regroup that as well. And then the third and final step is where we are going to add the total of the hundredths column. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Starting with the ones column, we have 9 plus 7. We know that 9 plus 7 is 16. Because that is 10 or more, we are going to need to regroup. So we're going to bring our ones down, and then we're going to carry those 10 ones and trade it out for the tens, regrouping the 1 over into the tens column. Moving on to step 2, we're going to add the tens column, where we have 1 plus 9, and 1 plus 9 is 10. And 10 and 3 more is 13. So that is also greater than 10. So we're going to need to regroup, bringing our 3 down, and then moving those 10 tens over to the hundredths column. Now our third and final step, we are going to add our hundredths column, where we have 1 plus 1 is 2, 2, and 1 more is 3. So we know that the girls have 336 marbles in all. we're going to move on where we need to add, and we're going to practice a little bit more of that 3-digit addition with regrouping. And as you can see, they give you the equation in a horizontal form. So you're going to need to rewrite that, lining up those place values. I've given you the examples here, how to line those up, making sure the hundreds stay with the hundreds, the tens stay with the tens, and the ones stay with the ones. Let's go ahead and work this one out together. I have starting with step 1, where we are going to start with the ones column. I have 4 plus 5 is 9. That is less than 10, so that's going to stay put. Moving over to step 2, which is working on our tens column, we have 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. That is also less than 10, so that's going to stay put. Moving on to step 3, where we're going to move on to our hundreds column, where we have 6 plus 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. We are done, so we know the sum of 634 plus 125 is 759. So let's go ahead and do another one for some practice. Again, I just lined up these numbers based on the place value, rewriting that equation in vertical form, and we're going to follow those same 3 steps. We have 5 plus 6 is 11. I brought our ones down here, and then I regrouped our tens next door. Moving on to step 2, we are going to add that tens column where I have 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 and 3 more is 8. Because that is less than 10, the 8 is going to stay put, and we do not need to regroup, so we can move on to step 3, where we're moving on to the hundreds column. We have 2 plus 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4, so we know the sum of 245 plus 236 is 481. Let's do one more for some practice on this page, where we have 743 plus 163, where we need to rewrite this equation, making sure that we line those numbers up based on the place value. So the hundreds with the hundreds, the tens with the tens, and the ones with the ones. Starting with step 1, we are going to add up the ones column. 3 plus 3 is 6. Because that's less than 10, that's going to stay put, and we do not need to regroup. So let's go ahead and move next door, step 2, to the tens column. We have 4 plus 6, and 4 plus 6 is 10. That is 10 or more, so we are going to have to move some next door. We're going to put our ones down here, which is 0, and then we are going to regroup that 1 into the hundreds column. And now we're moving on to the third and final step, where we are going to add up the hundreds column. We have 1 plus 7. 1 plus 7 is 8, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So we know the sum of 743 plus 163 is 906. Moving on to our next slide here is the same thing, where we have some that are written out horizontal, and you're just going to need to line those up based on the place value, and then start with those 3 steps, where we start right, and we start the right side and then work our way over to the left, starting with the ones column. So here we have step 1, 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 or more, move next door. We are going to put the ones here. There are 0 ones, but then we need to move that 10 over to the 10 column. And that's going to take us to step 2, where we are going to add up these 3 digits in the tens column, where we have 1 plus 6 is 7. And if you put 7 in your head and you count up 6 more on your fingers, that's going to tell us what the sum of that is. So we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Stop. So we know that the sum of that is 13. So the 3 is going to go here, and then 10 or more, move next door. That sum is, the sum of that is greater than 10, so we're going to add our ones here, and then we're going to carry over the hundreds. Now our third and final step here, we're going to add up the hundreds column, where we have 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 and 5 more is 8. So the sum of 264 plus 566 is 830. I'm going to want you to try the rest of these on your own for some practice. I know we've been going over these for a little over a week. Just remembering the 3 steps. You're going to start with the ones column, and if it is 10 or more, you're going to need to regroup. If not, the number is going to stay put, and then you're going to move on to step 2, where you're going to add up the tens column. And again, if it's 10 or more, you're going to need to regroup. And then the third and final step is you're going to add up the hundreds column. If you have any questions on these, please do not hesitate to reach out to me either on ClassTag or commenting below, and I will get back to you with an answer. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will talk very soon. Goodbye.